Hello, my name is Sean Dry, World History faculty at Oakland Community College, and in this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the flipped classroom. When we talk about flipping your classroom, there are two key steps or two key concepts that are really important to grasp. The first really big one is that your students are going to access learning content outside of class time. So you're not going to be lecturing content to students. Students are going to find ways to get that content and learn about it and explore it before they ever get to you. And then the second key step is because you don't need to use class time to tell students content, you can use class time to do active learning, to reinforce big ideas and concepts and get students engaged in the practical experience of learning. Okay, so that first step is students are going to engage content before they come to class. And that raises some really important questions because this is a different way than how many instructors get students their information. And this raises several questions. First question, how are you going to get your students to access that course content without you telling them what they need to know in the class meeting? There are a variety of ways that you can do this, and I've got some flipped classroom materials that you can explore in the resource section. You can have students read material that you provide. You can have them watch videos. You can have them listen to podcast episodes. There are many different ways that you can get students to access content before they ever get to you. Second question that comes up, what if students have a hard time understanding that content that you've provided to them? How are you going to provide support and assistance to students as they are attempting to get into that content? And then the final question, the one that really stumps people sometimes, how are you going to get students to engage with that stuff? So it's one thing to say, I'm going to give my students 30 pages of reading to do before they see me on Tuesday. It's another thing to ensure that they actually will read it and to provide motivation and incentivization for them to do that. The flipped classroom people have a lot of suggestions in that area, but the most common one is to have students do something with that material. So for example, you could have them take a quiz on it. You could have them do some reflective writing about it. You could have them generate summaries of the material that you've provided to them. You could have them write a journal entry about it. So the trick often is, you have things that you want students to watch or read or listen to, but you have to think through how are you going to motivate and incentivize students to do those things. It's not easy, but it can be very rewarding to suddenly have a bunch of class time available to you that you're not needing to use for lecturing. Which then raises the question, what do I do with all of this class time that I suddenly have? So a few things that the flipped classroom people tell us. First, just be really clear about the purpose that you want to use that class time for. Remember, there are specific course outcomes that you should be thinking about wanting your students to achieve. Skills that you want them to grow in, content that you want them to master. And now you have a chance to really focus your class time around getting to those specific outcomes. And now you don't necessarily have to worry so much about coverage. If your course description says you're supposed to cover a certain amount of things, well, you could have that coverage as part of the pre-class reading or content exposure, and then you get to use your class time to focus on really retaining information and comprehending information, especially in the realm of skill attainment and skill development. Having class times that are now freed of the tyranny of needing to cover so much information really provides you with that flexibility to dive in on helping students grow their critical thinking skills, their information literacy, their ability to do math problems well, all of those things that are important skill attainment and development components. If you're wondering what to do with that flipped classroom time, there are so many active learning options that you can explore. This website is on the resource list that I'm going to share with you, and it is an amazing collection of different kinds of active learning tools and strategies. And what I love about it is that it's organized by courses where you may be having an online synchronous experience with your students, an online asynchronous experience with your students, or a face-to-face experience. So many ideas, pages and pages of ideas for active learning things that you can do now in that classroom space that you have available to you. And that is important. It's important to keep in mind that the type of course that you're teaching is important and matters. Again, just remember the key idea. When you have students access material before they come to class and make an effort to explore that content and understand it, that just frees up your class time to really dive into skill growth and comprehension and key concepts and key ideas. That's what the flipped classroom people tell you is a cool accomplishment of this approach. These are some resources that I've gathered, tools to help you understand how to work this, and advice and suggestions for doing it well. So have fun exploring these resources and good luck working on flipping your classroom. Bye-bye.